Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate with you today. Today, as many of you know, we continue to grapple with COVID-19 epidemic that is wreaking havoc throughout our communities. This pandemic has devastated many communities throughout the United States of America and has been of tremendous consequence to the business community, most especially minority businesses. More than 7 million jobs in the hospitality industry have been lost just in the month of April, putting an immense burden on business owners, employees, and American families that are trying to make ends meet. The hotel industry employs hundreds of thousands of Americans and provides safe lodging for those traveling or impacted by the pandemic. In fact, many of your businesses have been able to accommodate many of our essential workers, those who have sought safe harbor, not being able to go home or protecting themselves from going home so they could, in fact, not run the risk of infecting their families. And we thank you for those gestures. Now, we have taken several measures to assist small businesses. We are proud of the House for the work done in the month of March, led by House Democrats, to recognize the need to quickly respond to the dire circumstances. We've passed, as you know, the CARES Act, which created the Paycheck Protection Program to provide essential loans to businesses, forgivable loans, if you carry out the procedure as we have made it possible. These PPP loans have provided critical relief for small businesses, and we're very proud that this funding has been a lifeline to many of your businesses. The hotel operators and owners have been able to take full advantage of a specific exemption that would ensure that more businesses, including franchise businesses, would have access to the PPP loans. Over time, we began to see critical problems emerge with the SBA. That rollout of PPP loans was a disappointment to many of us, and it threatened the survival of many small businesses across the country. We moved immediately to remedy that situation. Congress passed 2 additional bills after CARES. Many of us call it CARES 2. These 2 bills, the Paycheck Protection Program and Healthcare Enhancement Act and the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act, they were passed in order to increase SBA funding for the PPP and economic injury disaster loan programs to make getting access to this relief easier for businesses. The coveted period during which the PPP loan recipients may use such funds for certain purposes while expanding remaining eligibility for forgiveness and the requirements were revised. The House also passed the $3 trillion HEROES Act. Now that act, though it passed the House, is languishing over in the Senate. I'm very hopeful that within the next few days, the Senate will act on that bill. It will add monies for testing, about $75 million additional dollars for testing and tracing, but also will be about $1 trillion for state and local governments so as to keep them afloat. And the HEROES Act will, I think, be a key component in keeping our countries ahead of this crisis. We must get on the other side of COVID-19, and we cannot do that in one house alone. The House, the Senate, and the White House need to be working together. We're going to do our part, and we thank you for the support you've given us in that effort. And I assure you, we will continue to work hard to make you proud of the investments you made in your government and in us as a people. Thank you, and Godspeed.
I'm Congressman Steve Chabot. Along with representing most of the city of Cincinnati for over 20 years now, I also serve as the lead Republican or ranking member of the House Small Business Committee. I'd like to thank the Asian American Hotel Owners Association for inviting me to speak at your annual convention. While unfortunately we can't be together in person, I'm glad that we're still meeting in this virtual format. As we all know, COVID-19 has been very hard on small businesses that often have limited cash reserves and struggled to access capital even before the pandemic. For businesses reliant on travel and tourism, like the hospitality industry, these struggles are especially daunting. At the federal level, Congress moved quickly back in March to enact the federal small business relief efforts. I'm proud to have worked with House Small Business Committee Chairwoman Nydia Velasquez and our Senate Small Business Committee counterparts to draft the CARES Act. This bipartisan bicameral legislation included the Paycheck Protection Program, which has supported over 50 million jobs according to data from the Small Business Administration. Over $40 billion in loans have gone to accommodation and food service businesses. After the initial round of PPP funding was exhausted in just 2 weeks, Congress authorized a second round and adjusted the program to be more flexible to help more small businesses have their loans be forgivable. We want as many small businesses as possible to survive the pandemic. I especially want to thank the Asian American Hotel Owners Association for the hard work they've done in helping their members access these federal relief programs. I know that the PPP and EIDL loan program, their guidelines and application process could be challenging, so thank you for being there when your members needed you. Of course, we're still far from full recovery for most small businesses. Before the coronavirus reached our shores, we had a booming economy with record low unemployment. It will take a lot of hard work, but I'm confident that Congress and the administration will continue to work across the aisle and on both sides of the Capitol to support the comeback of our nation's small businesses. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Representative Ralph Norman, Congressman for South Carolina's 5th Congressional District. Throughout my professional career as a commercial real estate developer, I have garnered a special appreciation for the hotel industry, both as an owner, an investor, and as a realtor. And now in my role as a congressman representing the 5th District in South Carolina. Over the last few months, this industry has faced immeasurable challenges. COVID-19 has created obstacles we could never have imagined or really expected. And now, more than ever, we need to fight for the ideals that made America great. Competition, promoting free markets, and the freedom to voice an opinion granted to us in our Constitution in the First Amendment. The almost 20,000 AAHOA member companies across America has provided a necessary voice for this ever-important industry that we have to use. Since its beginning, your organization has been the driving force between countless legislative movements, fostering the growth and free enterprise of the entire hospitality industry as a whole. I know AAHOA will continue to work hard to support the lodging industry. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this year's annual conference. I hate that we couldn't get together, but I look forward to next year and many years afterward. Thank you for what you do. God bless you. God bless America.
Hello, I'm Phil Lovas, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Travel and Tourism at the United States Department of Commerce. It's wonderful to be with all of you virtually for AAHOA's annual convention. It's great to be able to talk to so many old friends. As many of you know, I worked very closely with AAHOA in the franchise development world for nearly 15 years. Your members are the backbone of the hospitality economy. I've recently had a number of conversations with AAHOA members and stakeholders throughout the travel and tourism industry about the current state of affairs. The Department of Commerce and the entire U.S. government understand that this pandemic is causing strains on the industry, and we are working to mitigate the impact of these disruptions. The Trump administration has been working across the federal government with state and local governments and with business leaders from across the country on travel and tourism issues to protect public health and to increase consumer confidence with respect to air travel specifically. One result of these efforts is the recently released report, Runway to Recovery, which was developed over the past several months with input from officials in the U.S. Departments of Transportation, Health and Human Services, and Homeland Security. It is a framework for U.S. airlines and airports to create a safe, secure, efficient, and resilient air transportation system that safeguards public health and supports the United States infrastructure needs and economic recovery. At the Department of Commerce, we appreciate private sector input. One example of this is our public-private partnership with the U.S. Travel and Tourism Advisory Board. This private sector board is composed of companies and organizations throughout the travel and tourism sector. The board advises the Secretary of Commerce on policies and programs affecting the U.S. travel and tourism industry, and it provides recommendations regarding actions that may be taken. The board has provided feedback on issues such as the public and private sectors working together to advance entry-exit biometrics, workforce development best practices, and just a couple of months ago on accelerating economic recovery in the travel and tourism sector. A recent example of our important work in the United States Travel and Tourism Office is our travel and tourism priorities with India. At the end of February, I traveled to Bangalore, Hyderabad, and New Delhi to further the priorities of the U.S.-India Travel and Tourism Working Group and to demonstrate the administration's support for private sector efforts to further growth in the number of Indian tourists visiting the United States. While there, I engaged in discussions with the Indian Ministry of Tourism and private sector travel and tourism leaders. Further collaboration between our governments and our private sectors has the potential to drive economic growth in travel and tourism while creating more American jobs. In closing, President Trump hopes to see the United States recover and emerge healthier, stronger, and more prosperous than ever before. The Trump administration believes the policies that took the American economy to historically low levels of unemployment, high job growth and wage gains, and created growth in the travel and tourism industry will do so once again. The National Travel and Tourism Office looks forward to continuing our work with you and the rest of the industry to ensure the United States remains a preeminent destination for travel and tourism. Thank you and have a great conference.